Hello, it is I again. Man, 2 uploads in 1 month, I am on fire. Anyway, hello, it is I, Reaper, winner of the Blower of the Most Head Gaskets Award and part-time amateur historian here on this channel. And it appears I have yet another confession to make. It is that the Panzer IV and the T-34 video are unfortunately going to be delayed due to some personal schoolwork that I unfortunately need to complete. However, to satiate your want for the more rather sporadic uploads here on this channel, I thought I'd make a top 5 favorite tanks video, since those seem quite popular. And before I get into my top 5 favorite tanks, I just want to say this. Your tank can be your favorite, justifiable for reasons only to yourself. Your favorite tank doesn't have to be the greatest tank in the entire world. It doesn't need to have stories of its accomplishments sung around the campfire by bards. And it doesn't have to be the greatest, it doesn't have to be the most best performing. It can simply be your favorite tank for reasons that only you can justify. And with that, let's get into the video. A case in point of my earlier intro is in fact my number 5 spot, the Tiger 1 Ausführung E. Now, I realize I have not been the nicest to this particular heavy tank in any of my videos. I have said that it was flawed, and it certainly was. While its armor and gun were excellent, and as a heavy tank I would argue it was pretty good, the fact that it needed a lot of downtime in between long marches, and the fact that it suffered from frequent transmission issues, and that it took a ridiculous amount of rare minerals and a lot of money to make and manufacture. But I love it nonetheless. Why? Because if you and I were to ask a 6-year-old to draw a tank, they would draw a Tiger. The biggest gun, the most amount of armor. This is the child's wonderment and our wonderment at what we thought tanks were like, at what we romanticized tanks to be. Moving fortresses trundling forward, an armored fist smashing through whatever the enemy dares to challenge you in your path of wanton destruction. Perhaps this is the reason why the Tiger has captured the hearts and minds of so many, because it is a bastion of what we want the tank to be, of what we aspire the tank to be, of what a child may imagine a tank to be. My number 4 spot goes to, and this is not at all because of my natural biases, the M1 Abrams. Arguably the greatest main battle tank in the world as of the present day, a cornerstone of Western military might, this tank is as American as Mustangs, guns, and apple pie. This tank represents the might of what the United States can do when it actually tries, when it runs with the times and builds something truly brilliant, yet also truly terrifying. Armed with a 120mm M256 gun and composite armor nearly 600mm thick in some places, while still being able to travel at a speed of over 40 miles an hour. This main battle tank should be and is the pride of the United States. And well, come on, I mean, look at it. This thing looks sick. And besides, the sheer cool factor that this tank has whenever it trundles across a desert. And of course the various footage that we've seen of it in both Ukraine and during Desert Storm, truly, well, it will rock the world, and it certainly has rocked mine. Hence why its number 4 spot is the Abrams. The number 3 spot is a bit more of an interesting one. It is a tank that I was relatively indifferent to until I looked into it a little bit more. That is the British Cromwell, or Centaur cruiser tank. This was a tank that saw service during the late mid-1944 to the end of World War II in 1945, serving well into the 1950s. It was the fastest tank fielded by the British, with a top speed of 40 miles an hour or 64 kilometers an hour. Powered by the Rolls-Royce Meteor engine, basically a de-supercharged version of the Spitfire's Merlin, this tank was fast. And I like things that go fast. However, I like even more the fact that it still kept all its medium tank advantages. It was decently armored, and its gun, while not exactly brilliant and I would argue inferior to that of the Sherman 75mm, it was still pretty good as well. And I, being a simple man, I like fast tanks, and as it turns out, you can recreate this scene from Girls on Panzer. There was this incident where a group of Cromwells jumped a 20-foot gorge when retreating from a German ambush. Now that is a hell of a pub story to tell your mates. Hence, why this particular tank goes on my favorites list. Coming in at my number 2 spot is the Israeli variant of the Sherman, the M51. This variant featured a truly massive 105mm anti-tank gun out of the AMX-30, the CN-105F1. The variant used in the Israeli Sherman could only fire heat rounds, but it proved more than capable of absolutely wrecking house in the Sinai and in the various battles during the Six-Day War and even during the Yom Kippur War. I love this tank because it serves as a shining example of how an obsolete hull can be upgraded to still remain competitive in advanced wars, and shows the modifiability of the Sherman platform. It is also an extremely sexy tank and extremely aesthetically pleasing. I mean, look at that barrel. Don't you just want to get in that thing's pants? Or engine bay, more like. Dive bomb? When? Number 1. My favorite tank of all time is, unsurprisingly, the Sherman. But which Sherman? There are so many to choose from, it's like pulling any number from a deck of cards. Which one? Which one? Honorable mentions go to first, of course, the T-34 Calliope rocket tank, because who doesn't want rockets on top of their tank? And, obviously, the British Sherman Firefly, the variant which could punch through tigers and panthers with the sheer bilging balls of rural Britannia and British colonialism. But my number 1 spot will go to, and drum roll please, the M4A3E8 76W, or simply referred to as the Easy 8. This was the ultimate version of the American M4 Sherman, which of course mounted the excellent M1 76mm main gun, combined with wet ammunition storage, the excellent Ford GAA V8, and the horizontal volute suspension system, meaning this was more mobile than any other Sherman that came before it. This was the version of said Sherman that I fell in love with. I love the way it looks, and its performance was truly great. The 76mm could do everything from providing infantry support to taking out enemy armor, which it did during the Korean War. In fact, it was favored over the heavier and more well-armored M26 Pershing because of its more nimble and agile nature, meaning it could climb hills and navigate bridges a lot easier. And of course, its rock-solid reliability. I love this tank for many, many reasons, chief among which is, of course, its looks, its performance, but most importantly, I love this tank because of what it stands for. It stands for the qualities that truly mark it as war-winning. It was reliable, it was upgradable, it didn't require that many rare metals to make, meaning it could be mass-produced, and it, of course, even has an even more kick-ass theme. With that, these are my top 5 favorite tanks. Please, drop your favorite top 5 tanks into the comments below. And before I let you all go, I just want to say a couple of words. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. My channel has grown a lot faster than I honestly thought it would. I mean, my most recent video finally broke 2,000 views. I never expected my channel would grow such as this. So I want to thank every single one of you for watching, and for giving my little corner of the internet your attention. And with that, I will see you all in the next video. Until then, tanks forward.